In this video, we'll be reviewing the SmartBid Expert Advisor by Mr. Gabriel Costin-Florissel. So, we can start off here on the sales page to get an idea of how this bot works. And he's mentioning that it uses an advanced trading system based on neural networks. And that specifically it trades gold on the M10 timeframe, which is quite unique. You don't see many bots that trade the M10 timeframe, but it's neat to see people taking a bit of a different approach than what's conventionally used. And here we can see that it uses an integrated recovery strategy to manage overall drawdowns. So to me, that sounds like there's some sort of lot scaling, perhaps a grid martingale happening here. But it's good that he's demonstrating and he's very explicitly telling you what it's doing there. He's also mentioning that there's quite a few different risk parameters, including like low risks and high risks and spread control, as well as the fact that for the recovery mechanism, you can set like an equity stop loss, which is essentially a maximum allowable drawdown. And that would indicate to me that there's likely some sort of lot scaling or grid martingale approach here, because those bots are typically paired, if done properly, with like an equity stop loss. So you can say, if my total amount of floating losses is above a certain threshold, close the positions, as I don't want to go further into drawdown and risk total account implosion. However, I don't see necessarily how he's really using the neural network here. Like, he is saying it uses a machine learning model to analyze market conditions, but that's great, but it's not quite enough information to tell us, for instance, how he trained the model, what type of neural network is it, what type of data is it based on, are you using an API or is it hard-coded? That's kind of a little bit interesting, and we should expect to get a bit more insights there if he's actually using it. And he is going a bit more into detail in the recovery style as well. And as well as he's talking about that you can customize the EA's name and trade comments to be able to better tag your trades, all of which makes sense. But a few big kind of downsides of this bot is we're not seeing any live signals, which is not a great sign. And second of all, he's not telling us exactly how it's deciding to make entry and or exits. He's saying that yes, it uses a machine learning model, which is great, but unfortunately, like even if you train an ML model, typically you still need some sort of underlying trigger to actually know when to enter the market. And ML models are usually fantastic at more position sizing or filtering, but usually there still needs to be some sort of trigger event, such as it can be as simple as enter at the start of a new day or enter at the break of a prior bar high. And there's so many different options here, but usually it's nice to kind of see that just to give you a bit more knowledge on how the bot is expected to trade. And if we go through here, the comments, nothing particularly revolutionary, but not seeing anything particularly noteworthy so far. So it's worth maybe diving here into our MT5, where I've taken the liberty of downloading the bot and running a quick backtest. And from what we can see, we have this absolutely gorgeous equity curve with some very small dips in the equity. That's a little bit suspicious in my opinion, particularly as if we take a look at this bad boy, we can see that it's running a grid martingale style approach on gold. So we see as price goes against it, it keeps opening more and more positions. And on gold, this style of system is extremely dangerous because gold can have some very volatile, powerful trends. And if all of a sudden you have a trend which goes against you, things can go quite wrong. So let's look here in the back test, and it's winning 100% of the shorts and 85% of the longs. And if we just scroll through, it's very clearly using a grid approach, more of a mean reversion style grid approach with the trend, or sometimes not even with the trend, it's just taking pure shorts. And like boom, 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 boom. So yeah, on gold, I'd be a little bit apprehensive to use this, but let's go through the inputs tab to see if we can glean a bit more detail. Really, it comes down to a few day of week filters as well as a risk filter. We were able to increase the risk and the preferred risk settings. But now let's run ourselves a visual backtest here to see if maybe we get a bit more information. Oh, at least it's running quickly. That's a good sign. Quite often with the less reputable bots, you will see like them being extremely slow because there's some sort of history reader. So nice and quick, we're not seeing any indicators. Let's keep letting it run. Let me go back to the sales page quickly as well. So specifically what I'm looking to check is when this EA was published, because from what I can see so far, it doesn't look like a history reader. It just looks like a heavily over-optimized grid martingale. It's grid martingale, it's entering with a basic, I would venture, mean reversion based indicators, so a Bollinger Band or an oscillator. It's using a grid and it's scaling. This type of system on gold almost always blows up. Like I have never seen a successful long-term grid martingale that trades gold. Gold is just too volatile. Using grids is a terrible idea. But I would venture that he's just heavily over-optimized over the history to make it look like there's essentially no long runs of losers, which would have significant dips in the equity curve. Like if we saw this bot or this equity curve and there were some major dips where the balance and the equity detached, it would be very obvious what it's doing and at least it would be honest. But if you're seeing essentially no runs of losers, that's really a bad sign. So what I'm trying to see is if it's trading past the 15th, and lo and behold it is, which is interesting. So yeah, like this, it has not been updated since the back test would have finished here. So perhaps it's just getting lucky. But I would honestly venture that this is a simple grid martingale system on gold with some sort of hard-coded mean reversion indicator. But seeing how smooth this equity curve is, and that just never happens with a grid martingale on gold, he's, in my opinion, heavily over-optimized this. And if you couple that with the fact that there's no live signal, I would personally stay away. If you are looking for a grid martingale style bot, look for one that trades Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar, Aussie New Zealand dollar, something which is a bit more mean reverting in nature. Gold and grid martingale tends not to fit too well. Guys, hope you enjoyed the video and see you in the next one. Take care.